Welcome back to Entropia. This is Sturge with episode 8 of Profitable Mining in the Entropia universe. Today I want to talk about doing your homework and what that can actually lead to. Actually, really what I'm going to discuss is dropping bombs or probes in an area that you've already mined in or someone else has already mined in. And I want to highlight some messages on the Planet Calypso forum by someone who has actually really done all of the legwork and testing to demonstrate that it's a bad thing to do, to drop probes right on top of one another or in a place where other people have been mining. So let's get to it. So here on the Planet Calypso forum in the mining and resource gathering section, you have this post by King of Aces, and this was actually, you can see that it's a little older. It's a year and a half old, or a year and a few months old. But actually, it's been updated very recently, and it's still a very live thread. And that's really why I'm highlighting it, but also the data that King of Aces collected with his colleagues Lilu and Casper really demonstrates what's going on there. And here's how the experiment was set up. I'll just summarize it for you. So these three miners would go to an exact location, the exact equipment, no amps or anything like that, the same equipment, and drop a probe. And then 5 minutes later, the next miner would come along and do the same and drop a probe, and then they check the hit rate and see that it's decreasing over time. And that tells you a lot of information about just that. Should you be dropping right on top? If you drop a probe and you hit nothing, should you drop another probe there? And I think unequivocally, no, you shouldn't. That costs you money. I think that is what this particular post and all the other posts that are associated with it are about. And it may, if it's a year and a half old, fine, but it still holds true. This is Loot 2.0, and dropping bombs on top of yourself in an area that you've already mined, or dropping probes in an area where somebody else is right there mining as well, is going to cost you ped. That's just the take-home message here. And so if you go through this, you can see all of the hard work that King of Aces, Lilu, and Casper put into this. I do recommend reading it thoroughly and reading all the comments. It might take you an hour or two, but it's worth it. This is the part of doing your homework that will save you ped down the road. So let's take a quick look here. I'm going to do a little graphical representation. It's going to be pretty cheap, but just using some paint. So this circle represents your drop, your mining probe drop. And whatever the radius is of that, if it's anywhere from 52 to 55 meters. And out from that center point, as close to the center as I could get it, you hit a mining claim, okay? And let's say it goes out 40-some meters, 45 or 48 meters, right? And then that claim has a size to it. And this is sort of the Little Big Mining Log representation of that, and that size is represented by a radius of the claim. But still, now you have a hit inside that radius, not the claim itself, but the actual inside the radius of your drop. Okay, and this is just the graphical representation. And the purple circle is the radius or radial representation of your hit. So that kind of gives you sort of a picture of what's happening. So you still have all that green space that you would say, well, nothing was found in that space. Can I just drop in that space again? And it's not impossible to hit something there, but you would have to drop outside of that circle, that initial drop circle, to hit something inside of that. And that's perfectly reasonable, and it does happen. But the game considers the drop inside that circle as counted. So it has already calculated and searched in that particular area from dropping from that center location. But what happens if you drop another drop outside of that and it hits inside the original circle? That's perfectly reasonable and can happen. But then let's take a look at others and sort of the overlapping idea of mining probe drops. And that would be, okay, I have now 2 more drops in that same area, and I'm trying to do my best not to overlap. But I do want to see if I can hit something, pretty close to the original drop. And we could do a third or fourth, but let's just represent it as like 3 drops. And you can see my highly technical graphical skills here. But I'm trying to make sure they're the right size. But you could either take it from here and you can drop over the other ones so they overlap and that little sort of triangular piece in the middle there. Or you can try to do your best to drop in this kind of pattern so you're getting no overlap and maximizing the area to get a mining hit. And that's really what you're looking for. And so that way you don't drop in the same place as you did before, because the probability of hitting something there is super low. That the percentage of hits, and that's what King of Aces is demonstrating, is very low. That you probably will not hit there, and that should save you PED down the road. Now there are also, of course, exceptions to this rule, but you'd rather err on the side of caution and drop in this pattern as opposed to just dropping tons of overlap and then losing a lot of PED. All right, I want to use an example of a video that I posted previously of getting 8 mining hits within a 100-meter radius. And how I know that's 100 meters is because all of the claims are summonable. That means I dropped with some sort of overlap, absolutely. But many of those drops were actually outside of the original radius, much further outside of the radius of even the other drops. So the hits may have all occurred inside this 100-meter radius, but many of the drops were outside. So I was doing my best to hit an economical pattern like I do with my crazy graphical representation there. And this is the product of that. So it's not an outlier. It just happens to be that this particular area had a really good hit rate, and it almost always has a really good hit rate, and that the claims are area specific. And that King of Aces actually does address that the claims are not necessarily in the ground, but they are probably area specific. And I think you learn that over time as you go and mine areas and you keep really good and accurate records of your mining finds, your claims, your sizes, and certainly go back and then mine them again and again and again and see what kind of hit rate you get. But the hit rate, the take-home message from the King of Aces post and multiple posts there and his experimentation is that you're more than likely not going to hit if you drop on top or within a very close radius of your original drop. And then if you wait a certain period of time, whether it be 15 minutes or half an hour, that the hit rate should return to normal. And that's what the experiment was done there. So I hope that that's helpful to you by doing your homework, by just going and reading and taking the time to learn and understand what other people are doing and their experiments. King of Aces is a scientist, as am I, and I find his experiments to be solid, and the setup for those experiments to be really solid. But also, it's something that your brain will start to recognize that pattern. You have to be careful. Is that pattern really there or not? In this case, hit rate dropping right on top of yourself or other miners is likely to reduce your hit rate. That's all there is to it. That's the take-home message. So, yeah, that's the homework assignment. I got more of that to do. But I appreciate you all watching. I hope this was helpful. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. And leave a comment down below, what you like or what you don't like. And I'll be right on top of it. I'll answer it pretty quickly. I'm always doing that. So thanks for watching. Ciao for now.